What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we dive into 4 budget decks that I came up with for Phyrexia All Be One. Each of these decks are playing around some of the new mechanics that came along with the set. Most of the decks contain no more than 5 or 6 rares. Some of the rares are rares that you should already have from some of the starter decks. Outside of that, these decks are pretty much all the new cards from the new set. And before we dive into the video, I just want to let you guys know I am going to be giving away 5 free pack codes for Phyrexia All Be One. All you need to do is like the video, leave a comment, maybe your favorite Phyrexia card, and I will select 5 of you at random from the comments below. And I will announce this here on the channel this Saturday, the 11th of February, and we will figure out how the best way to give you that code. With that being said, let's just dive into the decks and let's just start talking about them. The first deck up we have here is going to be Dimir Poison, and Dimir Poison is definitely a very interesting archetype from Phyrexia All Be One, as there are a lot of cards that just straight up instant speed and sorcery speed spells that just give your opponents poison, which is definitely pretty sweet. And then there are other cards in the set that also benefit from you giving your opponent poison, whether it's from the corrupted ability, whether it's from you proliferating, and that's what we're trying to take advantage of with those other cards. The 2 key cards I do think that are rare/mythic in this that really help with that is one can be Venser Corpse Puppet. It's a 2-mana 1/3 lifelink flyer with Toxic 1, which is definitely solid at itself. And then on top of it, whenever we proliferate, we get to choose one. If we don't control a 3/3 golem creature, we can create one, and then we can give target creature we control, target artifact creature we control, gain flying and lifelink at end of turn, so we can get that golem flying and lifelink when we proliferate. And the other one's going to be Tech Tool, Inquiry Dominus. It's the 4-mana Dominus that is a 3/5 flyer that whenever we proliferate twice. And when we're trying to put poison counters on our opponent and we proliferate those poison counters, having that ability to give them an additional poison counter when we proliferate is definitely very beneficial. So overall, making Tech Tool very, very good in this list. Outside of that, we just have other cards that either benefit from us giving our opponent poison, we have ways of giving our opponent poison, or we have cards that also benefit us from proliferating. So this list is pretty straightforward, I would say. Most of the cards would be cards you would assume would be in this list that would just benefit in these colors from the poison. And I do think the only challenge is initially getting that first poison counter, but once you give them that first poison counter, most of the cards get turned on, as a lot of the other cards in the list are going to proliferate that counter, and they're going to get up to 3 poison, and then every card's going to be turned on from that point forward. Overall, making this list pretty approachable, pretty affordable, and I do think that this is definitely a good place to start if you're looking to play maybe that poison, if you don't have a ton of budget to craft all the new rares and mythics that also come with the set. Moving on to the next deck, here we have Gruul Oil. Gruul Oil is another interesting deck that I do think could perform very, very well. This is the most budget stripped down version of it. The 2 rares that we do play in this that kind of help out overall are going to be Migos, Maze Crusher, 3-mana 4/4, and it's a battlefield with 5 oil counters on it. For 1 mana, we can remove it and give it Menace and Vigilance at end of turn. For 2 mana, we can remove 2 oil counters from it, give it +2/+2. And for 3 mana, we can destroy target artifact or enchantment, which is definitely all very solid and definitely, depending on the situation on the battlefield, could all be very good. And the other one is going to be Evolved Spinoderm, has 2 copies, as a 4-mana 5/5. It comes in the battlefield with 4 oil counters on it. If it has 3 or more oil counters on it, it has Hexproof. If it has less than that, it has Trample. And if it has 0 oil counters on it, we have to sacrifice it. Outside of that, the only other thing we really have in here is just other cards that come in the battlefield with oil counters on it, or cards that take advantage of us said having oil counters on our cards. 2 of the key cards from like Kamigawa that stand out that really work well with this deck is going to be Kami's Flare. As a 2-mana, deal 3 damage to target creature or planeswalker, and also deal 2 damage to that creature's controller if we control a modified equipment, or I should say creature. So definitely oil counters count as that, so definitely helps out there. And then Invigorate and Hot Spring is another solid card here. It's a 3-mana enchantment that comes in the battlefield with 4 +1/+1 counters on it, and it gives all our modified creatures we control have haste. So turning our creatures on immediately the minute they come out makes this deck even better, even in a budget form. And then we can also remove +1/+1 counters on it, and also give it to target creature we control, though we can only do it once per turn. But I think the main effect here is it's kind of like an overall global way to give to start oil stuff haste, which is definitely very solid. And like I said, most of the other cards in this are just cards that benefit us from, putting things on the battlefield and get bigger, or they just benefit cards that just have oil counters on them, making this all very, very good. If you're liking the content on the channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It definitely helps out a lot. Also, if you want to go the extra mile, you can simply click the join button. You can join the channel and become a member for as little as $1. That will also help support the channel. Now back to the next game. The next deck up on this list is going to be Azorius Tokens. I think a lot of people are excited about Azorius Tokens just because of Skrull's Hive. I think Skrull's Hive is a solid card. It's an enchantment that comes on the battlefield. At the beginning of our upkeep, we lose a life. We create a 1/1 Phyrexian Might artifact creature that can't block but has Toxic 1. And as long as our opponent has 3 or more poison on them, all our creatures that have Toxic also have lifelink, makes them that much better. So basically, even we can swing in with the 1/1 mites and kind of gain that 1 life back from them. And what we're trying to do is just play some additional synergies that work very well with this card, just to try to get our opponent up that poison, because sometimes this card by itself will not get our opponent 3 poison. We have other cards in the deck that will help us hopefully get there. The other card that we have in the deck that also is kind of makes this probably the most expensive deck on this list is going to be Urza, Prince of Krug. It's a 4 mana 2/3 that gives artifact creatures control +2/+2, and it has a 6 mana ability that we can copy target artifact we control, except it's a 1/1 soldier in addition to its other types. This is just more so here just because of that global +2/+2 across the board, and we also included 1 copy of One Announcement in the list. This is something that you do get from the I think from one of the starter decks. I think it's the green-white one. And at the beginning of our upkeep, it creates tokens. If we swing with 2 more creatures, we draw a card. And if it goes to the 3rd chapter, it's going to give a global +1/+1 across the board from its flip ability. And other than that, like I said, a lot of the other cards in this just kind of synergize very well with the toxic ability. We have ways of proliferating to give our opponent that additional toxic. We have ways of just giving them poison from some of the blue cards from this deck. And then also another card I feel like a lot of people are sleeping on, but I feel like is definitely another solid card, is Annex Sentry. It's a 3 mana 1/4 toxic 1, but it works exactly like Brutal Cathar, that when it enters the battlefield, we get to exile target creature or artifact the opponent controls with mana value 3 or less. Maybe not as good because Brutal Cathar can target any creature, but the idea is here is we can target creatures and artifacts. So if there's something like a Bankbuster we want to get rid of, this card can put Bankbuster underneath it, which is definitely very solid overall. Outside of that, the deck is pretty straightforward. I mean, like I said, we're just trying to get our opponent to that 3 toxic, and then hopefully overwhelm them with a lot of our small creatures and get wide and take over that way. And it is pretty fun, I do think, overall, if you can get that engine online. And I do have a more upgraded version of this that I did go over in my brews I was making with. So this is a more stripped down version of said deck. But overall, very, very fun kind of mechanic to play around with. The final deck on this video is going to be Golgari Toxic. Golgari Toxic is a pretty powerful deck, I think, overall, just because of this 1 card, Venerated Rot Priest, a 1 mana 1/2 with Toxic 1. Whenever a creature we control becomes target of a spell, target opponent gets a poison counter. And that also means our spells. So if we target our own spells by protecting it with like Tyvar's Last Stand, we're going to give our opponent a poison, which is definitely very solid. And all the other cards around it are just other cards that take advantage of the poison effect or have toxic on them to help put pressure on our opponent's poison total in general. And a lot of the creatures as well are rather on the large side. So we're either draining our opponent down by poison, or we're also winning by damage overall. I do think the one area this deck lacks currently in its more budget form is not a lot of things have trample. And I do think once you start adding some mythics and rares to the deck list, you'll get some creatures that either have some sort of additional evasion or they have trample that we can get through that, that damage to get that poison on them overall. But still, nonetheless, I do think there's a lot of good things in here that will definitely work very well together. And definitely a very, very solid deck list from top to bottom. And those are the budget decks that I came up with from the new set. I do think each of them brings something unique to the table. I do have some upgraded versions of some of the decks that you saw in the video today. I'll leave a link to that video down in the description below, as well as I think the card somewhere at the top of the screen that you can click on if you want to watch that video and kind of get a better idea there. Just another friendly reminder, if you want to enter in to get the free pack codes, don't forget to leave a comment down in the description below, maybe of your favorite card from Phyrexia All Be One, or maybe your favorite deck that you want to try out with the new cards. And I will select five people at random from the comment section below, and I'll announce that here on the channel on the 11th of February. But with that being said, if you like the video, hit that like button. Definitely helps out a lot. If you're new here, you want to post new videos like this one here on the channel, hit that subscribe button. And until next time, I'll see you in the next video.